once know the place Ibiza. Ancient memories where you know his face sometimes, and your heart knows his grace. He's worth seeing.
Hello, and welcome to Ibiza 2009. It's gorgeous and sunny here. We told you not to laugh. I'm just playing with you. It's raining. The truth about the moon. Let's get to something really serious that everybody understands what I'm talking about, right? The moon's an amazing thing to me. This whole process of this Ibiza event is one of the most startling things that I have ever experienced in my work in human design. I've never really had an experience like this, and I'm referring to the variable experience. So far, I have been through 10 variable groups. It is hard to imagine truly how different they are from each other. It's an extraordinary thing, and it's an extraordinary thing to see the way that mechanism aligns us to a cognitive potential that is really extraordinary. We are so different. We have so much potential inherent in us to be able to filter the consciousness field and to be able to live on this plane with grace. And I find it always astonishing that I look out in a world in which that grace is so hard to achieve. One of the things about the variable process and introducing variable at this level is basically what I'm introducing you to is the command post. It's a command post. That is, your sun earths, your nodes, basically they just simply organize the performance on this plane. That's what they do. They actually don't provide any real input. They actually don't provide any real input. They simply frame the process. When you're looking at your variable, when you're looking at your sun earths, your nodes, the assumption is, aha, that's me, right? You know, it's like your profile and your cross, right? Oh, this is me. No. This is the control mechanism. It's a control mechanism. That's all it is. It's sort of like, the machinery that is going to take everything in and put it all together and arrange it and sort it and put it out on display. But it has nothing to do with your experiential life. Nothing. See, what makes you interesting, well, I should rephrase that. What could? I don't mean to be cruel, eh? What could make you interesting is the depth of the way in which you take in experience. You see, we are designed to experience uniquely. Uniquely. It means that we have ingredients in us that are ingredients that resonate to certain phenomena only. It's not just a matter of you've got a perspective and an environment and you've got this and that. How do you take in what happens to you in those places? What are you taking in? How do you take it in? You know, I'm involved in this long process, PHS, race psychology, many years of teaching this now. I'm about to embark on something called holistic analysis. And basically what holistic analysis does is for the first time, we are able to focus on the way we are mapped to experience. Not the way that we are mapped to frame the experience, our profile, our this, our that, but in fact, the way we are mapped to take in experience. Now, what does this have to do with the moon? And by the way, it'll be full tomorrow. And so if you have a hard time sleeping tonight, tough. Just remember what's causing it. Really, it's the moon. You know, when you live in a place like this where the moon is so big, that it's really there. On those full moon nights, I heard Deborah mention this the other day, people, you'll see them in the morning and they look useless, right? Oh, the moon last night. I had a terrifying experience years ago. I went to visit somebody in North America. I was in a high-rise apartment building, 22nd floor, something like that. The night had come. I open up the drapes. I look out the window, and I see the most incredible full moon. Incredible. And I'm in a big city. Normally, see this great full moon. So I called to the person in the house. I said, come over here. You have to see this. Right? And they get to the window, and they look, and they say, what are you looking at? I said, the moon. Oh. I mean, I am a lover of Artemis. She should kick all those people. I want you to understand something. No moon, no movie. It's very simple. No moon, no movie. I mean, think about what the moon does. This is the thing that's so incredible to me about the moon. You're walking down the street. Why the moon? You never think about it that way, do you? You never thank her every day, right? Thank you. You're walking along the street because of the moon. Because if it wasn't for the moon, the earth would suck you up its anus so fast you wouldn't even know there was anything. If there was no moon, there would be no us, there would be no life, there would be nothing. There would be nothing. Only the moon has the power to counter the gravity of the earth. It's the moon that pulls us up into our lives, that takes the trees up into the sky. It's the moon. It's the moon that drives everything. The ancient Hindu Brahmins, they were so convinced that the moon was everything that they assumed that all incarnation took place via the moon. You died, you went to the moon, you came back. Don't tell that to Armstrong. Did you miss that joke? Come on, that wasn't that bad, was it? Jesus. I mean, I'm not our men, but hey. Hey, I even said hey. I should have said hey, hey. Okay, let's get back to business. The moon. Nobody pays attention to it. Nobody understands this. And you see, if you don't understand that we exist by the grace of the moon, we exist by the grace of the moon, that when you see the moon in design, you better rethink what you're looking at, because you're looking at the control mechanism of experience, See, what I understand about human beings is that they do not experience, they interpret. They interpret. They're stuck in their not-self mind, and they interpret what they think is going on. They interpret what they think is happening. Now, we well know what the not-self is like. You know, what they think. Yeah, right. But it has nothing to do with experiencing. Because you see, you do not experience with pointed awareness. You don't. You don't. You let go. And you surrender. You see, everything about us is that each and every one of us, one of the magical things about Maya Mechanics Advanced Imaging, this way of looking at the deepest detail. We have two magical boxes in that diagram. They're really magical. These are the lunar and the planetary square, the magical square. And what's carried in that square is something that is so profound. One is the mundane and the other is the transcendent. We are all designed to have a mix of the way in which we take in the experience of being in the world. But you see, we don't. We don't. We don't. This is a not-self life. This is a homogenized world. This is a world where human beings have given up their authority to everything other than themselves. Everything. If you give up your authority to everything, then you give up the authority to even experience. You deny your experience. You don't live that experience. It all comes from the way in which you deal with this life. See, I've gone through all of these various levels in trying to bring human beings to the simple understanding that if you surrender to the form, you can begin to awaken your awareness, your true awareness. We are not here to struggle. We are not here to fight. We are not here to dirty our hands in the material plane like our ancestors. We are not seven-centered beings. We are not beasts. We are cognitive forces. We are here to be aware. The awareness is lost in this life. The level of consciousness on this planet is so banal, it's frightening. The lack of originality on this plane is unbelievable. And it's not because the resources are not there, that the potential is not there. It's that you have human beings that have been so conditioned that there's nothing left. And they have been so conditioned that they're denied the very experiences that will transform their consciousness. You know, I was always amazed by those people who were searchers. You know, the people that were looking for things. In my early years, I met all these people that were looking for things. There was nothing to find. I mean, there was nothing to find. It is not about that. You do not look for the experience. You are made for it. You are made for it. What it means to surrender to what it is to just be you. You see, I can tell you all these incredible things. You know, your type and your variable and your profile and your cross and your this and your that. It's a fucking piece of paper. It's not life. It's just paper. The thing to understand about what it is to live this life and to live this life with your mind free is that you have to free it from controlling you. As long as your mind is controlling your life, you do not derive from what is your nature the experiential processes that are there to awaken your awareness. And you're here to be aware. Think about the dilemma of the not-self mind. Think about the dilemma of the world out there. You know that. You see these pieces of paper. You all have this openness. You understand what happens, that what flows into that, how easy it is for you to be lost. It's so simple. It's so easy. Doesn't mean in that state that you have any possibility of being able to access the benefits of what you're here for experientially. Because we're all here for the unique experience. Think about the moon. Think about the moon, because the moon is so incredible. We have two magical things we work with in design. I've been doing this every day in variable. We have the nodes of the moon, after all. These nodes are what create our life story. They create our movement in space. They define the nature of our potential uniqueness. All of this is rooted through the moon. And when you look at the moon in the AI chart, it sits there in its corner and it controls everything. Because all experience moves through that light. It is the moon that conveys the experience of your existence to the control mechanisms. Most human beings, those control mechanisms are not there for awareness. They're in the panic room. You know? The not-self mind is just a panic room. It's all it is. Oh shit, what am I going to do? I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this, I got to do that. If I don't do this, then this. And if I don't do that, then that. And on and on and on. And they want this, and he wants that, and she wants this, and my dog wants that, and God wants this. You know? What it is to give up your authority. See, I can't teach you anything if you don't have your own authority. You sure as hell aren't here to believe me. It's not my authority. I just offer you what's there so that you can see whether it resonates within your authority and what you do with it. We've had sheep for too long. All these human beings constantly bowing down to somebody else's authority, whether that authority is moralistic, judicial, you name it, political. See, the whole thing about waking up is that you've got to take responsibility for your own life. If you can't take responsibility for your own life, you are never going to be able to love what it is that you are, because you're never going to see it. See, when I first started in my work, I'm not the kind of man that was ever interested in other people and their problems. It's not my trip. And I started my work and I started to deal with all of these human beings, and they were so fucked up. They didn't like themselves. I mean, they wanted to change everything. I looked at that and I saw such a disease. And it was a terrible black joke because I knew damn well, looking at their charts, they didn't know who they were. They were hating the wrong person. I mean, the imitation of what they could have been in this life. You know, when I started, I thought, okay, I'm going to tell them all the good things. You know, they're so messed up, I might as well tell them how terrific they could be. You could be this, you could be that, you could be the other thing, you know, and they look at me like sheep in a meadow. So far away from any possibility for them that it was unbelievable. And then I would tell them about their not self. You know, I would tell them about how cruel it was to them, what it was doing to them, you know, and they'd start suffering, right? Oh, yeah, I know, it's always been... Yeah, I know, I wish I could. Oh, I know, right. You know, and they'd cry and they'd burble and they'd do all their stuff. And at the end of it, they'd say to me, what should I do? I had to stop doing readings, you know, I would have killed people. I mean, what do you mean, what should you do? I already told you what you are. Live it. It's not complex. See, all these years later, here I am doing this variable thing, and I'm still dealing with a world that hasn't caught on to type, you know? Strategy and authority. I mean, if you don't follow your strategy and authority, how are you ever going to liberate yourself from this box? You can't. You can't. There's no way. And you see, it's the most difficult thing for a human being to deal with is the mind. And your mind is robbing you of your experience, and it's robbing you of your awareness, and it has no business doing that whatsoever. None. None. See, these things are a joy. They're a joy. They're beautiful. There's nothing more beautiful than a human mind. It has incredible, incredible potential. But that potential has nothing to do with that mind directing the being. I have a wonderful mind. You would be astonished to meet it when it's being stupid with me, you know? Because when it has to do with me, it's a moron. It really is. I know I've been through the moronic mind stage, you know, when I was not self. It has nothing to do. When it tells me to do something, it's like, please, you know, you're not good at this. Don't do this. Do what you're good at. Look out the window and check things out, okay? You know, I love the word maya, you know, the root in Sanskrit, ma, to measure, to measure, to measure. Minds measure. Geez, they're good at that, you know? But the whole thing about a mind is that it can measure this and that, and honestly, it doesn't know which is better ever. Ever. You know that yourself. Your mind says to you, okay, let's do this. You know, and you do it, and it all goes to hell. And your mind says, okay, let's do that. I mean, it didn't know in the first place. I mean, it's a crapshoot with mind, right? When it comes to trying to function on the physical plane. It's not what it's for. And yet all these human beings are running around with, oh, I know what to do. Yeah, sure you do. You know, and let's take a look at 500 million people who don't have enough to eat. Let's take a look at the 40,000 babies dying every hour. Let's take a look at the madness in this crazy world and tell me where this mind leads us. You see, we're not seven-centered beings. And we're still carrying their poison. Their poison. It was their role to develop the strategic mind. They were strategic. It was their way to surrender to the power of mind so that in the vanity of what it was to be human, that mind could then, you know, compete with God, you know? That we could conquer and rule. That changed hundreds of years ago. We're only beginning to awaken to the reality that that's not who we are. It's not who we are. Oh yes, as you see in variable, as we move through the evolutionary track, we all carry a little bit of the old and the new in different proportions. But we are not strategic beings. We are not a strategic species. We're not. That is something so important to grasp. It means we are not here to use our intelligence to maintain our survival. You can't imagine how important this is to understand. The most difficult thing about embracing your own authority is that you have to be fearless. People are afraid. We are nothing but fear mechanisms. We are full of anxieties. We are locked into the homogenized material plane in which we are forced by our very conditioning to fear for ourselves on a day-to-day basis, where that next mouthful will come from, where that shelter will be, and on and on and on and all that stuff. It has always been easy for me to say to somebody, look, you want to get your life together, surrender to what it is to be you. And they say the same thing to me over and over and over again. But, you know? Yeah, but I have a family, I got a mortgage, I got a dog, I got a, whatever it is. I don't care. Doesn't mean that you're going to lose that. Doesn't mean that they're going to suffer. But until you surrender to what it is to be you, you're never going to get what's yours. I mean, what's truly for you. You know, one of the most beautiful things, Ibiza events have always been a time for me to introduce things. Years ago, I introduced signature as a way to give each type a sense of understanding of how beautiful it can be to be able to escape the not-self themes. I'm a manifester. Manifestors as a not-self being are angry. They're angry. Whatever doesn't work in their life, anger comes out. I lived that anger for a very long time. I watched it in all kinds of ways. There is nothing more extraordinary than the peace that I live with now, more than anything else. The peace that is there for me now is the evidence of what it means to truly be a manifester. I love being a manifester. It is a beautiful thing to be me. That's me. That's what this is all about. 70% of the people in this room are going to be generators. The frustration, that marks the life on this planet. The vast majority of humans are generators. The vast majority are unaware. This is an incredibly frustrating place to live, isn't it? Incredibly frustrating place to live, this planet. Satisfaction for a generator is better than sex. It's better than God. It's better than money. It's better than anything. You see, we have a value system that was constructed by the seven-centered being. A value system that's structured on the strategic, and the strategic measured by mind. I have more money than you, My God's better than your God, all that shit. And then we lose our magic. We just lose our magic. All these homogenized beings all bowing down to the same authorities, all losing the magic that is there. And you see, this whole business about being differentiated, it's differentiated in every way. We all have deeply unique ways in which we take in experience. Deeply unique ways that only come to the surface when we're correct. There is no other way. We've looked at a lot of things over the years. There is nothing more important than understanding that surrendering to the form principle is what humanity has been seeking intellectually forever. They just didn't know. This is what true liberation really is. For us, there is only one liberation. There is only one that is possible. When we live what we see in our chart. And what I mean by that is, we are a binary consciousness. We are a binary consciousness. And as a binary consciousness, we're here to understand that each level of our consciousness, they have responsibilities and that it is our role simply not to interfere. Not to interfere. See, I try over and over again to explain to you that these forms, this is not what we are. This is not the point. It isn't. It's the medium. These are rented vehicles, right? You know that. You get dropped in, you get pulled out. It is the way that it is. And the purpose of this life is not to be absorbed in the journey, but to grow wise through the process. It's not to be destroyed by the journey. It's not to see that this is an ugly place. It's not to see, as the old mystics and the seven center beings claimed, that this is the planet of suffering. I will not accept that because I know better. We are not here to suffer. We are not here to be without. This is not the way in which we are designed. The most incredible thing about strategy and authority is that when you surrender to your body running your life, it does a really good job. It does a really good job. I'm a really smart guy, but only since I have been listening to my spleen. I'm a splenic manifester. I've been listening to my spleen now for 23 years. I don't understand it. Honestly, I don't, because it takes place in a moment. You know, I remember one morning, classic example. I get up in the morning and I want to drive to the local shop, you know, to get a newspaper. And I live in the countryside and I have a country road. On that country road, I normally never put on my seatbelt. I mean, there's no traffic, it's a country road. When I get to the highway, you know, I put on my seatbelt. So I get out of the house that morning, I sit down in the car, and I notice that I'm putting on my seatbelt. I just notice it. And I don't do anything with that. I'm just watching the movie, after all. I notice putting on the seatbelt. 4 or 5 minutes later, as I'm on the highway, ready to make a left turn into this store, some old man runs up behind me and smashes into my car. I even watched him come. And as I watched him come, and I realized he didn't see me, old Ibiza guy, and he wasn't going to put on the brakes. You know, I'm sitting there looking at the seatbelt thinking, shit, the spleen is really amazing. How the hell did my spleen know that? How the hell did it? I never do that. So what I mean is, I don't know what it does. I don't know how it does it. All I know is that if I listen to it, everything's okay. You know, and as a bright, rational being, you know, you look at that and you think, really? But you see, when my mind was making the decisions, I want to tell you, you've never seen anything so messy. And I had a terrible life. I mean, I had a terrible life. See, most human beings don't get the message until they're dead. What a funny thing to say, isn't it? But it's true. Most human beings, only when their personality crystal is released from the form in the bardo that they have for 72 hours after death, is the only time they meet their own passenger. And it must be a terrible shock for most human beings, because it's been there all along. It's there in each of you. This is what passenger consciousness is about. You see, there is something extraordinary within you that watches. I mean, this is not science fiction. It's real. In the work that I do with people, for example, in rave psychology, we have techniques so that you can actually experience that. That you begin to recognize that your personality consciousness is not who you are. It's what you're here to experience. It is what you're here to experience with wisdom. Because if you don't, we lose that little slice of consciousness in the consciousness field. You know, it's one of the joys that I have at the event. You know, there is a very different way in which people involved in human design deal with each other. You can begin to see the whole meaning of the nine-centered process. Nine-centered process is about communion. Intellectual communion. Outer authority communion. You see, these minds that we have, These minds are here to be of service to each other. My outer authority is good for you. It's interesting. It's not the point for me. In the same way that the potential of your unique outer authority, what its value is to the other, and we don't have this. And you can always tell the difference, because when you're dealing with a homogenized person, they always want to argue. You know? And when you're dealing with people who are just releasing outer authority, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not, agree with it or not. It doesn't make any difference. It's always interesting, because it's theirs and it's unique. It's like the people that you meet here. You know, there are always going to be people that you bump into here that you can't stand. It's normal. It's human beings. And then you look at their design and you see, hey, what am I going to do? This is what they are. And you can accept them for what they are. And you don't have to get into any big trip about it. You see, we don't know how to respect each other. We don't know how to communicate with each other. If your mind is making the decisions for you in this life, you're a bigger liar than I was at the beginning of the show, you know? I mean, you're always bullshitting, because there is no other way. Look, if your mind is making decisions for you, your mind's calculating. It's calculating, right? How much can I tell them? I'll tell them a little bit, because I don't want to tell them too much more. Because if I tell them more, who knows where that's going to lead to? Maybe I shouldn't tell them. I'll tell this one and not that one. You know? Maybe I'll tell them a lie. You know, it's better that they hear a lie than they hear the truth. And it goes on and on and on. Because you see, if your mind is controlling your life, then it's controlling all of the falseness of the way in which you present yourself in this life. Human beings don't tell each other the truth. It's not what they do. They're always protecting their ass. They're always insecure. They're always uncertain. They're always afraid. It's there. And you see, this is not what we're about. See, I would love to be able to show you precisely how you could take that unique potential of experience in your design and how you can watch that. You know, join my holistic analysis program. You know, I'll show you how to do that. But to get there, to truly be able to experience as you have to be you. And you got to be it all the time. And it's never too late. Never. But you see, until you are ready to be selfish, and not selfish in any negative sense, but to understand you're here to serve yourself first. It is only in serving yourself and in finding your own power that you can love, really love. It's not about dependency. It's not about needs. We are not here to be dependent in that way. Again, we are a different form. We're here to be with the other because it is what's correct for us. There is no other way. And we can only be that when we are correct within ourselves. You know, it's a standing joke of new lovers in the homogenized world. At some point, one of them is going to say, "Why do you love me?" That is one of the most psychologically screwed up comments, questions in existence. Think about what that means. Why do you love me? I can't figure it out. I mean, is there really something in me to love? Did you notice something? Really? Oh, wow, isn't that nice, you know? Spend your whole life waiting for somebody else? You know, to tell you that there's something worthy in you? And what if they're not there? You're going to live your whole life feeling unworthy? Over 60% of humanity has an undefined ego. They generally feel worthless. They generally feel unworthy. Always running around trying to prove themselves, always doing things that cost them dearly and they get no rewards for it. Always trying to find other people's respect. And you see, when you touch them and you turn them to the mirror, they don't like what they see. They want something else. They want to be something else. They want to, they have a whole fantasy about what they could be. It's really sad. You see, this is the time of the end of sheep. You know, all these sheep that need somebody to tell them it's all okay. It's all okay. You just say your prayers and everything will be fine, you know? You pay your taxes, everything will be okay. Keep your money in the bank. We don't have much time left. You don't have much time left. You know? You're on your way out. It's the way it goes. You know, you come in, you go out. I mean, I turn 61 tomorrow, you know? It's like I'm on the other end of the road, you know? And you see, this is just the way the movie is. You go in, you go out, you go in, you go out. Don't waste what you have got. You're very fortunate. You really are. And you see, only when you live this life as yourself do you get to see what we need to see. What a gift this is. I mean, what a gift this is. You get to notice this every once in a while in a movie, you know. You see things about people because you know the knowledge. You see things about yourself. You begin to get this incredible pleasure as each of the pieces slowly begin to fit into place. That you can begin to surrender to what it is just to be here to experience. It's not like the other things don't get done. They all get done. I don't pay attention to all that stuff. My life is fine. Everything functions. Everything works. It's not about that. It's about understanding that only when you take that step, only when you fully surrender to that, can you begin to experience. We see this in the whole variable process. The way in which our leftness and rightness determines the way in which our cognition operates. And yet the way your cognition works is only the way it works. What's it working on? It's working on what you're experiencing, what you experience in your process in this life. And to experience correctly, your mind cannot be interfering. It can't. It can't. We are passenger consciousness. We are here to see. We are here to see through the eyes of the seer. We're here to see through this mask. We're here to see how this principle operates. We're here to find truth. We're here to display unique wisdom, not borrowed, not secondhand, but what is ours. You see, what I care about most in those beings that have embraced this is that they begin to feel that power within themselves. You see, to trust your form so implicitly. We are form principle. You have to understand that your brain is your life. It doesn't make a difference what your mind's doing. You've got a body. You've got a form that's operating within a form principle. All of it's written. It's all written. It's all written. I can take your chart, anybody's chart, with what I know. I can describe absolutely everything except what you'll experience. I can describe it all. I can show you every angle, all of it. It's written. The raw uruhu is just a thing. It's written. It's not the essence of what I am. What I am experiences this. You see, the moment that you get lost in the principle, you don't see anything. You can't. That person that's standing in front of you and they're trying to figure out what to say and what to do and what to think, and they see nothing. They see nothing. When your mind is trying to figure out what you're going to do, you see nothing. Nothing. Everything gets cut off. You lose your cognitive potential. You lose the ability to transform your life, to break out of this thing that is out here. It's all coming to an end. You can smell it. It's in the air. We're coming to the end of a cycle. This cross of planning that we have been in since 1615, it's made it very, very easy for us to be homogenized into communal and collective groupings, to be controlled by religions and politicians and on, to be formed by institutions, to be homogenized in the deepest level. I'm no great fan of the cross of planning. I mean, I understand it as a mechanism, but I'm a born natural freak. I'm an individual. I do not feel comfortable in a planned environment, you know? And it's coming to an end, and we're about to enter into a deeply, deeply individual age. When this knowledge was given to me, it was given to me not for you. You're a pain in the neck. You were born conditioned. It's a real drag to decondition you. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. This knowledge is for babies. It's for children coming into the world. It's for beings that have awareness as a guide so that they can, live the true nine-centered life. From the moment this knowledge came into the world, all I've had to deal with is the sickness of homogenization. Because it's a sickness. And you see, I'm no Messiah. I know the movie. You can't save the world. There's no such thing as saving the world. The most you can save is 4% of 4%. It's about 35 million out of 7 billion. You have to be lucky. It has to be your karma. But when you're standing in the gateway, if you don't take the journey, you're never going to get another chance. This is it. You see, this is where the revolution begins, one by one being at a time. I'm in this long enough to have seen some remarkable things. There are many people in my life in human design that have enriched my life simply by watching them go through this process. After all, I'm different from them. I had this bizarre experience as an initiator. I'm not like you. I was never a student in that sense. I don't even know what it means to have the courage to be someone like you. It's why I have such great respect for my students. I don't think I could have followed your path, frankly. I'm a manifester, an ego manifester, and anyone who's ever tried to tell me anything, I've told them to go to hell. So I don't imagine that that would have worked for me. So I look at it and I think, wow, these are really special beings. And you see, the whole thing is to sink totally into this journey. After all, it's an experiment. It's not about believing. It was like yesterday, Andrea was talking about her investigations into PHS. It doesn't matter whether you're in human design or not in human design. We know so many things that can make things better for you. It is inherent in our knowledge. For the body, for the psychology, for the being itself. It's so beautiful. And yet, so much of it is simply information. And it's only information until you live it. Until you live it. This is a way of life. I've been talking lately with my students and reminding them that there are several ways when you come to human design. There are those that dabble, that check it out, that have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. There are those who manage to stay for the 7-year cycle and discover that something really amazing has happened, that they have changed, and that they have changed for the better in terms of themselves and the way they feel about themselves and the way they deal with their life. And then there's the possibility to take the whole journey. When I first came to this island, this place was filled with all kinds of mystical people looking, searching, east, west. They were all looking for something that they called whatever, enlightenment, awakening, whatever the thing was. And I knew right away when I heard them and felt them, even without my present awareness, that they were nowhere near such things. It was so obvious to me. Yet at the same time, it was fascinating to me. I'd never met people like this, my own age, who were into that kind of a into that kind of a process. When I had my experience, one of the first things that I understood afterwards is that, wow, it's actually possible. It's actually possible, and it's mechanical. You can wake up. You can be aware. It is a mechanical process. You simply have to understand how to take advantage of your mechanics. You don't have to study this. I've never cared about that. I always knew that there would be those that would be fascinated with the knowledge and go deep enough and want to share it with others. But for the vast majority of beings, it's not the point. The point is to get the message and to experiment with it. That's the whole point. You can't do anything until you embrace this at the deepest form level, because that's what it is about. I am tired now of this 20 plus years of pounding on the form principle, because in fact, I was given the ability to bring people to awareness. I'm still dealing with them. All right, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, Follow your strategy and authority. You know how many times I have said that in 23 years? It is unbelievable. And I want to stop, It's so nice watching all these teachers up here doing the teaching during this, because they can do it for me. I'm getting really tired. What I'd like to talk about is awareness. What I'd like to talk about is cognitive architecture. What I'd like to talk about is the phenomena that we're dealing with here in our form, that we have these new brains that are emerging, this whole new process emerging, in which there's this incredible depth that's being taken in. There is so much for us at that level to share. But you got to get past the body trip. Getting past the body trip is getting past your fears. We're not here to live with fear. We're not. It makes no difference to me which way the wind blows. I live by my spleen. Everything's okay. I don't have to worry about the next turn in the road. It's not the point. It gives me the enormous grace of being able to be a passenger. What a glory that is for us. I told you the other night, please understand, these elements in us, the crystals of consciousness, they're dark matter. They're not atomic. They're not atomic. The very thing that is the essence of you, the thing that is here to watch the movie, is not this. It's not this. It's not this. Until you can let go of this possessiveness, mine, 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 it's not at all. And you see, it's not about spirituality or mysticism. It's about understanding the mechanics. We got dropped in here. You've been dropped in here on this plane. Now you're either going to be suckered in like everybody else and suffer, because it's a tough, tough, tough place to be, or you're going to glide across it on greased rails. No resistance. See, human beings don't think that's possible. Those of you that have been in this long enough, and many of you are here, you know that that is what it is. Your life is no longer about navigating. Your life becomes experience. Experience. It's not about whether you're going to be happy or not. I hate that shit, I love entertainment. It is entertaining, all of this. Entertainment can be very sad. It can be deeply joyous. But it's incredibly stimulating. It's incredibly exciting. It is the vitality of existence itself. It's the beauty of all this. So long, we have ignored the beauty. We leave it to poets. But we are all the poetry. It is our beauty that is here to be expressed. We're not here to recite by rote the poetry of the other. We're here to offer ours. You see, I have not lost my love for what it is to be a nine-centered being. I look at them and I see in them what the end always brings. It brings the potential of glory. You know, this is the end of the story. You know, the tree of knowledge. You know, all that fruit. We've been eating all that fruit faster and faster and faster. We're in this cycle that is closing, in which all of these answers are percolating all over. We're under enormous pressure to get to inner truth. This is our time. And you see, the only way that this moves is through you. It's not me. It is through you, each of you, uniquely, in your own way. It's only then that the consciousness field begins to change. It's only then that your relationships with the other begins to change. It's only then that the wisdom that is there in you can emerge. See, I begin and end always with the same thing. I am here to offer you the opportunity to love yourself. To love yourself. It is such a beautiful thing to discover what it means truly to be you. The richness of it, the depth of it, how extraordinary it is in its unique expression, how different and precious it is. It is a treasure. And these treasures are buried and hidden everywhere. And it's time to open them up. And it's just mechanical. It's your strategy and authority. It's your dietary regimen. It's your environment. It's all kinds of things. They're all these tools that we have. But all it takes is surrender. You see, the seven-centered being, that's all they ever wanted. Oh, I want to be able to surrender. You know, all the religious morality of the seven-centered being, all of that stuff was pointed at. Oh, I want to be able to surrender, you know, to let go, to be embraced by the... See, you can. So simple. All you do is take the authority of the mind away. Do not allow your mind to make decisions for you. It's all it takes. It's all it takes. It seems so small. It is so incredible because it starts everything moving. See, I'm a great lover of the moon. I can feel its power. I understand that everything is rising and falling in tides of the moon. Our blood rises and falls. The liquids in our cells rise and fall in relationship to that moon. And that great moon that holds me up and moves me along is offering me a cornucopia of experience. It is all there before me. And all I have to do is see and see. No struggle. No struggle. The freedom to be oneself. The freedom to see. We are not here to be blind. We're not here to be fooled. We're not here to be slaves. We're not. We are not here to be told what to do by the world around us. We have the power to determine our lives. We have the power within ourselves to awaken or not. I can't do it for you. Nobody else can do it for you. And you can't do it for anybody else. You can only do it for yourself. And I tell you one thing, that the deeper you live that, the more that you will fill up with what we're supposed to be filled with. Wonder, awe. It's amazing, all of this. It's amazing what we know, what we can see. It's extraordinary what is here to be offered to the other. This incredible possibility to really be able to live out the richness of what you're here for. No measurement, just its possibility. and what it means not to have your life ruled by fear. Because you're not here to have your life ruled by fear. You're not. You can see the sickness in the world. You can see clearly that the world runs on a fear mechanism. It's profound, that fear. It is how everyone is kept in line. The whole planet is kept in line through fear. It distorts everybody's existence. This is not what we're here to be a slave to. But as long as your mind is in control of your life, you will always be afraid. Because that's what the mind is good at. It's good at feeding on fears. We're here just to watch. It's not about stopping your mind, eh? Please understand, you can't stop your mind from being your mind. There's always going to be stuff going across the screen. But what goes across the screen is not the point. It's the entertainment. It's the entertainment. Yeah. Well, tonight when the moon is full and it wakes you up because it changes your blood pressure, just think about what else the moon is offering you. By the moon's light, it's offering you the deep grace of seeing. We are here to experience, and we are here to experience differently. The two of us walking down the same path with our different variables and our different types and our different ways of dealing with the reality of existence. Each take in experience uniquely. It is in that uniqueness that we share a wonder, the awareness of experiencing this. Because that's all we're here to do. If you think you're here to do more than seeing, then you've got a deeply burdened life. And you know, I hope you have insurance or something like that. Anyway, I started with a lie. No, I won't do that. All of you that are watching at home, by the way, we're going to have a special screening tonight in about 12 or 13 minutes. So as I close this lecture, please don't go away from your Jovian Archive TV, because we're going to show you something very special. When I began my process in 1987, and I can remember quite distinctly one day trying to figure out what it was, manifester that I am, that I was supposed to do with all this madness. You know, what was I supposed to do with stuff that a voice told me? And all I could think of was, wouldn't it be great to make a film? You know, I could explain the whole thing in a film. It would have saved me years and years and years and years and years and years of repeating the same story over and over and over again. I had a friend of mine in that era who was sort of connected to the film business. And I told him that one day. And I asked him what it would cost me. And he said, oh, about $20 million. You know, it's 1987, eh? Come on. You know, I mean, Bill Gates was only beginning to get rich. You know, that's a long time ago. And you know, the way life works, eh? You know, it would have been nice, but then again, what to do? But it's a great pleasure for me now, because at this point in the whole arc of human design in the world, I really wanted to have something that you could show anybody and basically in 15 minutes give them human design. And this was really tremendous work from Mal Quitano, who edited this, created all the animations, and my dear friend Jean-Pierre Pasquier, who wrote the musical score for this. It was an effort of love, and at 10 after 8 we will screen this for you, so I hope that you'll enjoy that. I think it's interesting. The other thing is that we will make this film available for free to anyone. Hey, you'll be able to download it, send a link to a friend, whatever the case may be. It is just Human Design's newest calling card, so I think you'll enjoy that. To all of you You know, these lectures that I do in the evening, I don't really have much to teach you. I don't. I'm really doing my work in the mornings. I'm here to remind you of something. I'm here to remind you of how precious your good fortune is. Because that's really what it is. How precious this is. How lucky you are. How important it is that you take this as far as humanly possible for you. Because you are the instruments that take this out into the world. You carry it in your frequency. You carry it in your vibration. And there are so many beings on this plane that wait along that fractal line for something that's different, for someone that's different, for somebody that can tell them the truth. What I glory in human design is that it's always given me the right to tell the truth, to say clearly what is there, to offer another human being a real chance to confront what's possible, and not to suffer. We're not here to suffer. I see all of us having a good time, you know. That's the way it should be. Anyway, to all of you, thank you very much. Nice that you were here.
Put aside that old baggage and all your disbelieving.